Assalamu alaikum warahmatullahi. This is part 2 of refutation to young pharaoh law. So basically I'm going to be showing, continuing the video that he was trying to show, and then I will be posting up. Now his thing is that all Muslims accept pedophilia, and that Islam accepts pedophilia, but his main thing is that all Muslims accept pedophilia. So he's going to post up some sick couple sick people, right? And then we'll get to exposing the truth and facts. If you haven't seen part 1, go to part 1. Inshallah. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi. Let's do this.
Here we go. This from 2008. So I don't want nobody talking about I don't want nobody talking about no motherfucking, they don't believe like that no more, or they don't teach that, da-da-da-da-da. Yes, the fuck they do. This is from 2008, okay? Now let's go. I'm do the goddamn translation my damn self. Let's go. He said, first we are talking about the marriage contract itself. And we're going to be going into the book in regards to certain chapters in the Quran and Islam, which deals with marriage contracts, where I'm going to be showing you where they are okaying pedophilia and child and intercourse between a grown man and a little boy. But right now, we're going to let this nigga confirm out of his mouth that they practice pedophilia. So now when I get to going in on this shit, can't nobody say or act like this is not confirmed by Islamic members its own self. Now let's go. While consummating the marriage, having sex with the wife for the first time is another thing. That's scary. There is no minimal age for entering marriage. You heard the nigga. Even though he's speaking Arabic, he said there is no minimal age for marriage. Okay, so that's them telling you right now that they coming for you, whether you 80,
This guy.
18, or 8. Now let's keep it moving. You can have a marriage contract even with a 1-year-old girl. Now let me bring the screen back to me real quick, because I got something I want to say here.
Okay, pause real quick, and then I'll let him talk. So, as you know, in the last video, I proved that the narration which these guys go by, the ones he has up here, who are part of Ahlul Hadith movement, that there's other methodologies towards the Quran and Hadith, okay, and that this is not the only method. So yeah, this is a sickness, and what happens is false sayings of the Prophet are attributed to the Prophet, and people put it in certain books, right? But those books came later on, and that the earlier books had rejected the same sayings that are put in the later books. So young Pharaoh is acting as if this man right here or a couple other people speak for the whole Muslim world and the different methods that Muslim goes by, right? He doesn't even point out the different methods that Muslims go by. If you're interested in that, for me to prove what is just being said right here, go to my first video that's before. Right now in this one, I'll just be showing the videos that young Pharaoh's putting up, and then I'll put up videos that refute. Okay. So, and I'll probably do some other stuff. There'll probably be a part 3 to this too, inshallah. So, all right, let's go.
Let me bring the screen back to me real quick. Okay. A contract is an agreement between two people. Now let's be real here. Do you know that it's illegal for you to enter into a contract with somebody who's under the age of, it's either 16 or 17? I want to say 16. This is why your parents have to consent for you, okay? Because your age and maturity is based off your brain development, which determines the capacity of your intellect. So even in America, you can't put a 15-year-old under no motherfucking contract. They parent gotta consent, because they can't conjure up the forethought to make a cognitive decision. So a baby even talk yet.
Right.
How you gonna go into a marriage contract with a fucking 1-year-old? How you gonna do that? A 1-year-old probably just started walking. What are you talking about? I have a son. He just started walking at damn near exactly 1 year old. How you gonna go into a marriage contract with a 1-year-old? Huh?
Okay, hold up.
I don't want to.
Hold on. I know what I said. Let me go get. Well, I actually rebutted that. Okay. I showed in the first video. Actuality. There is no consent, and that scholars have said you cannot. A father cannot force his daughter into marriage with a person that they do not want to be married to, and I showed that through Islamic scholars. Okay. So he's correct on that. A 1-year-old can't consent. Let me go and finish because that's what I said I was gonna do. All right.
There's no nigga running from you. No nigga. Because this is in the Quran.
It's not in the Quran.
Oh, the Muslims over there practice this in the.
That's not in the Quran. He spoke falsely. All right.
The Muslims over here have been and be molesting motherfuckers too. Motherfucker. So with that being said, what are y'all talking about? I haven't even got started yet. And this nigga already coming out of his mouth, speaking ridiculous. Let me share my screen back so I can go back in. Let me share my screen back. It's going to be a real hot night tonight for you Muslim motherfuckers tonight. Okay? Let's go. It's going to be a real hot night. Let's go.
حتى يمكن أن يعقد على فتاة عمرها سنة زمان مش 9 سنين.
Not to mention a girl of 9, 7, or 8. Huh? This nigga ain't even go up. He going down. That just tell you where his psychological state. He ain't even be like, well, she could be like 10, 15, or 17. This nigga went down. That nigga said 9, 7, or 8. That nigga went lower. He ain't even go higher. Let's keep it moving. This is merely a contract indicating consent. How you gonna get consent from a 1-year-old? Please explain that to me. The guardian in such a case must be the father. Okay. Because the father's opinion is obligatory. Thus, the girl becomes a wife. So you marrying motherfuckers at 1 year old. Okay, let's keep it moving. But is the girl ready for sex yet or not? Let's see him answer the question.
هل الفتاة أو البنت محل للدخول أم لا؟ طبعا وكم.
What is the appropriate age for having sex for the first time? Let's see what Muslims in Islam have to say about this. Okay.
سن الدخول المناسب هذا يختلف.
This varies according to environment and tradition. Let's go.
باختلاف البيئات وباختلاف الأعراف عند الناس. ممكن في اليمن.
In Yemen, girls are married off at 9, 10, 11, 8, or 13. Pedophilia.
كانوا يزوجوا من 9 و10 و11 و8 و13. في بعض الدول تزوج من 16.
While in other countries they are married off at 16. Let's keep it moving.
في بعض الدول أصدرت قوانين ألا يتم الدخول.
In some countries they have legislated laws forbidding having sex before the girl is 18.
إلا بعد 18 عام. ولنا في رسول الله صلى الله.
The Prophet Muhammad is the model we follow. Here we go. Now it's getting hot. Because if you a follower of Muhammad, nigga, this is the model you follow. It ain't no ifs, ands, or buts. It ain't no I follow Muhammad, but no, nigga. This is your blueprint. Period. You don't get to switch up the Quran because it got some shit in there that's exposing that you a weirdo. Either get off the doctrine or get with it. Let's keep it moving.
الله عليه وسلم قدوة حسنة حيث عقد.
He took Aisha to be his wife when she was 6.
Here we go.
I'm not even playing no more of this nigga. He just said all I needed him to say. So you just heard this man say, the Prophet Muhammad, is the model he followed. And he took Aisha to be his wife at 6 years old. Okay? So any nigga following the Quran, I don't give a fuck if you a Sufi, a Sunni, you a Middle Eastern, you a Nation of Islam, I don't give a fuck what kind of Muslim you think you are, nigga. If you following the Prophet Muhammad, bitch, you are supporting a pedophile. 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 That's what the fuck you're doing. Okay? I just had a real Muslim.
Real Muslim.
Okay? Admit out of his mouth the ages in which they like to wipe up women. So this is not.
Okay. So let me go back and let me respond real quick. Real quick. We'll continue on. All right. So that's his first guy. All right. That's his first guy. Now, so what happens? He says a real Muslim, right? And I actually left off with this last time. Because he says Islamic scholarship. That's what I was going. All right, bear with me. All right, here we go. I referred to this book the other day. See? Islamic Legal Reasoning Formative Period. And what he don't understand, as I showed this before, besides the different area of righteousness. All right. Trying to go slow. I had this set up too. Hold up. Hold on. Let me get my stuff. Hold up. Have this thing set up. Now they playing games. All right. Okay. Now the narration of Aisha, the Prophet Maryam, Aisha 6 and 9, right? From this book, Hanafi Principles of Testing Hadith. Okay. Now, anybody knows from the last one, I'm not going to go back over that other part, but real briefly, we saw in early Islamic history, there are two methods towards a hadith. We had the Ahlul Hadith movement and we had the Ahlul Ra'i movement. The two different movements, one used reason and logic to accept or reject hadith, and the other one went literal, verbatim what hadith said, okay, without any type of reasoning. This book goes more of the al-Ra'i understanding. So we understand that Imam Abu Hanifa formed the earliest of Sunni schools. All right. So in the early Sunni schools, we understand that Imam Abu Hanifa rejected many hadith that found their way back into Bukhari later on, approximately 140 years later on. Okay. And let's look at what the scholar Imam Abu Hanifa, the establisher of the first Sunni school, said about the age. Okay. First, this methodology for the school of Abu Hanifa also gave importance to the intellect and rational thought. This differed with the school of Muhaddithin, which was on the opposite end of the spectrum and believed that any conflict with the intellect and text could only occur due to deficiency in the brain. Therefore, when confronted with this situation, the intellect must be switched off. Meaning that, hey, brother, the chain of narrator say this. Don't debate about the hadith. The prophet must have said it. Okay, that type of approach. Although the text might be against Quran, actually. Imam Abu Hanifa thus rejected many hadith as he felt they were not authentic. Many of these hadith later formed part of the collections of Bukhari and others. Okay, so that's one thing. First of all, quoting something from Bukhari doesn't make it so, nor Sahih Muslim. Hold on. We're going to get into it real quick. All right. So, okay. Now, as far as 6 and 7, Imam Abu Hanifa robustly disagreed with this position and argued that the age of maturity for both males and females, in fact, is 18. So, Imam Abu Hanifa's position was based on developmental psychology as adjusted for the child's locale and culture. His reasoning was that in different culture societies, people mature at different rates. This age of 18 was based on his local area of Kufa, present-day Iraq, during the 8th century. The main point was maturity is based on the development of the brain. All right, I went through this already, but where it states clearly, down right here, he says, Imam Abu Hanifa, the fact that a person exhibits external signs such onset of puberty is irrelevant. Okay, which basically means they're not ready for marriage. Okay, just because they had puberty doesn't mean that they're ready for marriage. They're not mature yet. Okay, this was an early Islamic position. Okay, and many in the Muslim world still follow this position. So, young Pharaoh saying the scholars of Islam all accept, that's what this video says. If you go at the beginning, the scholars of Islam in general accept pedophilia, and then he brings up the marriage of 6 and 9. And what he does not understand is that many of those hadith have been rejected by many different schools. Okay, way before Bukhari even put it in his compilation in termed it Sahih. Right. So, all right. So I said that last time. That's just a short point I wanted to get out there. Let's see. Okay. Well, I don't want to go back over what I went already. So, catch the first video. You'll see I also use these right here for science and psychology and stuff like that. But all right, let's get back to this. Well, I'm going to go to one of my videos, to refute that. Okay. Because he's speaking ignorance. He's speaking out of ignorance. Okay. So, I had a brother here who actually, the last time, hold on a second. Hold on a second. Hold on for a second. Hold on for a second. All right. Here we go. So he got his guy up there saying that is okay. Let's see this short clip.
So what Adil saw, he is saying.
Hold on. We got a problem.
Saying is that both in the case of Aisha and in the case of the Prophet's first wife, Khadija, the age seems to be misrepresented in some of the reports about them. And he says that this is not unusual. There are other companions of the Prophet, peace be upon him, early Muslims, who are reported to have done a certain thing when they were a certain age. But when all of the pieces are put together, it is clear that these persons' ages were not properly represented in those reports either. And more generally, he points out that people did not pay close attention to the actual dates of things. And the Arabs at the time did not have a calendar. So they would refer to an event with reference to a certain other major event. To add my own explanatory note here, people would say, for example, that this happened so many years after the year of the elephant. They're referring to the year in which the elephants were said to be marching against Mecca. To them, a major event in their memory, but to refer to somebody being born so many years after that event and so on shows a great degree of vagueness when it came to the ages of people.
And so what does he propose as Aisha's age actually being when she got married?
He proposes that she was about 18 or 20, given a number of factors. For example...
Hold on. So I just showed you where Imam Abu Hanifa, the founder of the first Sunni school, first, school means method, how you go at the hadith. Okay. Whether you use, Quran and rationality, or you use as your yardstick to accept hadith, like Imam Malik does when he used Medina as the city of the Prophet as the standard to whether accept the hadith or not, because the Sunnah was a practice in that city. Okay. Or, Imam Shafi has his method, which are 5 principles. And in each one of these methods come to the understanding of how they will go at the hadith and how they will accept the hadith. So right here, he just mentioned the age that somebody had, came to was 18, not 6 or 9. Right. And I just showed you that Imam Abu Hanifa earlier in the 2nd century of Islam had rejected, right, hadiths, and that they ended up in Bukhari and Muslim. Right. And we saw that Imam Abu Hanifa himself had said that, maturity comes at 18. So hence that will be eligible for marriage. So, I mean, it is very clear for anybody who want to really do that research. But let's continue. Let them go ahead.
An early list of Muslims who had embraced Islam from the very beginning includes Aisha. And if she is in that list, one might presume that she had some age of discretion, probably about 10 years old. And then if the Prophet, peace be upon him, continued to live in Mecca for another 10 years following that, and then Aisha was married to him, or consummated the marriage about 3 years later, then we're looking about maybe 20 years old at the time she consummated the marriage. So some other factors like this, when the pieces are put together, lead to an age of about 18 to 20 when she consummated her marriage.
So that's one scholar. That's one scholar, a real Muslim, as young Pharaoh had termed. He said the people over there is the real Muslim, right? So that's a real Muslim from over there saying the age is 18, and that Aisha was married at 18. So that completely, I could stop right there, and that would completely debunk what he's saying. But I'm not going to do that. I'm going to go ahead and continue on a little bit. I'll play one more. Let's see. Yeah, I'll play one more, and then we'll get back to young Pharaoh's video. There'll probably be a part 3 to this, because I'm not going to let up on none of these cats. It's time, you know what I'm saying, to cleanse these fabricators, you know what I'm saying, whether they be from, Christians who are anti-Islamic, Comedics who are anti-Islamic, or any other sort that want to keep on trying to drag our Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam down, Also, some Muslims who take on to this, they're part of the Ahlul Hadith movement. Muslims need to start, some of us who became Muslim, we need to open up our mind to the different various methods that were practiced in early Islam, and understand that you don't have to accept just because it says Sahih. Sahih, as we know, as you'll hear another scholar say, does not mean that the statement that was saying is true. Sahih means that the chain of narrators going back is true, that's sound, but necessarily not the matan or the text of what is spoken is true. Okay. So this is why you see in early Islam, different scholars rejecting even what somebody may term Sahih. Another scholar may say, no, that's not Sahih. Or if it was Sahih, it'd be like, well, I reject that type of Sahih because it doesn't go with, the Quran, or it doesn't go with rationalism, or it doesn't go with, certain principles that came up. But all right, let's go back to, well, actually, hold on. Let me go ahead and play, inshallah. This one's okay. Should I play this one? Okay. Well, this is a story, I think, the history of. Hold up.
They say.
Okay.
Actually, Earth is on the back of the whale. So whale is in some sort.
Okay, what this scholar is doing is he's going through the different hadith that people say is authentic, and then he's he's just giving a couple examples. But one of the things that he's going to do is talk about the history of Imam Bukhari versus the history of Imam Abu Hanifa, who was 140 years before Bukhari. Okay. And this scholar follows the method of Imam Abu Hanifa, going towards the hadith, which is the Quran and rationality and certain principles set up. Right. And, he's going to be stating that he don't, basically the Hanafi method doesn't really take much from Bukhari. It doesn't even go by Bukhari. To traditional Hanafi. Now there's more up to date Hanafis who may accept some things from Bukhari, but the traditional Hanafi followers, most of the hadiths that ended up in Bukhari, they had rejected 140 years before. And they also have the Hanafi method has its own hadith book called Kitab al-Athar. Okay. So, Islam existed before Imam Bukhari. Islam existed before Imam Muslim. The six Sahihs that came later on were in a later date in Islamic history versus the earlier compilation of hadiths and the scholars who were able to derive rulings from things. So let's hear him speak. Go ahead.
Ocean, swimming. Actually, we saw. Okay, yeah. We saw that Earth is actually in the space. Nothing is holding the planet, and Quran is actually supporting that issue. Okay, وَكُلٌّ فِي فَلَكٍ يَسْبَحُونَ. All of the planets and stars are going in its orbit, so nothing is helping it, nothing is supporting it. No any whale and no any bull.
So right away that is rejected. Yes. Obviously.
So we have a set of these type of principles by which we determine if this word is coming from the mouth of the Prophet, peace be upon him, or error attributed to the Prophet Muhammad alayhi salatu wassalam. Okay, and even this person, he's from Uzbekistan, by the way, from Samarkand, Abu Muqatil al-Samarkandi,
So he's about to start talking about Imam Bukhari.
Early students of Abu Hanifa, of our Imam. So he came from Central Asia to visit Abu Hanifa because Abu Hanifa became so famous that scholars from Central Asia started visiting him. So he brought a list of questions. One of the questions was to Abu Hanifa. He said, "Oh Imam, I have been told that you reject the words of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." Abu Hanifa said, "We do not reject the words of the Prophet, but we reject the error which is attributed to Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him." Okay, and God is so merciful that he does not leave us in the desert being confused without any equipments to get out of it. So what is this equipment? The equipment is set of principles, rational principles and textual Quranic principles by which he supports us to find the truth.
So speaking of the truth, obviously very, very important points that you discussed. I would say in almost every Muslim household, including mine, we had the Sahih Bukhari, and it says right on the cover that this is 100% authentic, and a lot of people believe that. Now, your book argues that, this is not necessarily the case. So how do what's your take on that?
Imam Bukhari from Uzbekistan, okay, one of the top imams of narration. Let's not confuse. He's great in narrating, but everything else is other people are greater than him. Okay, so that is certainty. And also,
when you say when you say narration, you just mean what he heard from the Prophet, transmitted down, and he recorded it. Is that
exactly
what you mean?
That is his specialty. Okay. Yeah. So, for example, let's suppose that I'm expert of boxing. And you are you have headache, migraine. Will you come to me to get rid of it?
Probably not. No, I wouldn't.
No, I will give you a bit of more migraines,
Yeah, probably. Yeah.
So, narrating hadith is one thing, okay? But knowledge of Quran and knowledge of other subjects of Islam is totally different thing.
I understand. Yeah.
Imam Bukhari, obviously we Hanafis, we cannot accept that Sahih al-Bukhari is the most authentic. Why? Because Imam Bukhari by himself, he initiated over 20 places in which he criticized Abu Hanifa for rejecting these over 20 ahadith. In there, he refers to Abu Hanifa because he used to live in Hanafi city, Bukhara, of Bukhara. So he wouldn't mention his name not to cause friction. So he says, قال بعض الناس, some people say such and such, but here is the hadith. saying opposite of that. So we Hanafis, we cannot say that Sahih Bukhari is the most authentic, because he criticizes us there. He criticizes our Imam for rejecting them over 20 hadith. Okay, and even from our side, our Imams, our Hanafi scholars, responded to Bukhari. Okay, over this issue of qala ba'dun nas. Some people say, so he will be referring to Abu Hanifa for rejecting these ahadith. So
Okay, so he's saying the Hanafi scholar methods, they clearly don't accept Bukhari. They're Sunnis. They follow the Sunnah. The Hanafi scholars had wrote books in refutation to what Bukhari had recorded in his narrations about what the Prophet ﷺ said. So the only reason why this is brung up is because young Pharaoh and Christian missionaries that like to go into Bukhari, and they think that, every single Muslim, holds it up to the standard of, like you can't contest what's in there. And inside there's a narration that Aisha was 6 and 9 years old when the Prophet married her. Right. And just like I just showed you, Imam Abu Hanifa had rejected that. OK, but those hadiths eventually found their way back into Bukhari's collection 140 years later. Right. So right after that, the Hanafi scholars wrote rebuttals to Bukhari on that issue. And so ever since then up to now, it's been an issue that's not much discussed a lot, but people that know. So I'll let them continue, and then we'll go back to Pharaoh's video.
They have compiled books in which they explain why Abu Hanifa rejects these 25.
Based on the Hanafi principles of giving rational reasons.
Yeah. So it means we're Hanafis. Obviously, it is not the case in our time, because contemporary Hanafis, they're Hanbalis.
Okay, so he's gonna go into Hanafi. Some Hanafis have accepted the Hanbali principles of accepting hadith instead of actually traditional Hanafi principles. So that don't got nothing to do with that. Okay, so that's all I had to do. I just wanted to show one because I showed two people so far that have spoken on this issue. So we're gonna go back to young Pharaoh's video and him saying the things he say about Muslims and Islam. All right, I got stuff lined up. See, I'm not joking. It's probably gonna be we going to David Wood too, but I got them lined up. Okay. And these are all people that follow the Sunnah, because you got to understand the Sunnah was a practice that the people of Medina was doing when the Prophet ﷺ died. It was not a book. Okay. Now, Imam Malik in the first hadith book, Imam Malik wrote in his Muwatta the actual Sunnah or doings that was going on. Okay. So they line up. All right. All right. So I'm gonna go ahead, go back to young Pharaoh's video, because his premise is the whole point is that his premise is in an actuality Bukhari Muslim. That's what the whole essence he's leading it to.
See, this is what I'm saying, family. This is not an individual attack on it.
Oh man.
On anybody. This is to show y'all what these books is really talking about. Just like I showed y'all pedophilia and homosexuality in the Bible, you think I'm not going to show you it in the Quran too? So all of these, if Muhammad really did exist, he was a pedophile. How can you follow a man that had a 6-year-old wife? How can you do that? How can you do that? Where's your morality at? Where's your motherfucking... How about I come on this motherfucker and I have me a 6-year-old wife? Would you still be subscribed? I bet you hit that fucking unsubscribe button so goddamn fast. And so, weirdos follow weirdos. Fuck is wrong with you? I wouldn't give a fuck if Muhammad was holy. As soon as I found out he had a 6-year-old wife, his ass was out of here. Now, I got something that I'm finna break down right now. Okay, I'm finna get crazy. Now you have to ask yourself, right? Okay, Pharaoh, the Quran teaches pedophilia, but where does it come in That you're talking about grown man and little boy intercourse. Here we go. I'm finna show you the whoop-de-whoop. First, I'm gonna give you the story. Then I'm gonna show you the verses in the Quran that back the story. Then I'm gonna show you footage again of them confirming the story. Now watch this. Muslims, right, teach what? That the girl must be a virgin upon being married to her husband. Now apparently these ages that they telling you they marrying these girls, all right? I bet a fucking 9-year-old would be a virgin, asshole. So now when people like Malcolm X, and I exposed this shit a couple months ago, when Malcolm X told the truth on how he really fell out with the NOI and Elijah Muhammad because Elijah Muhammad was impregnating them underage girls. Now we see where Elijah Muhammad got his weirdo ass rhetoric from. And what did Malcolm X say when he confronted Elijah Muhammad? I wish I had the video ready. Malcolm X said what? If you go watch my older videos when I blew up on the NOI, what did Malcolm X say? He said Malcolm X said Elijah Muhammad justified his action by rendering himself walking down the path of these same biblical characters. So Elijah Muhammad quoted, he said Solomon in the Bible did it, King David did it from the Bible, and he's a follower of Islam. Of course, he's Elijah Muhammad, which means...
Get to your thing, man. All right. Get to your videos. All right.
So if you see me, they sexually disciplined until they marry, but really what they doing is committing homosexual acts and pedophilic acts with younger children and our men, okay, until they marry the woman that they, come into marriage with. And so we finna blow the lid.
So, we know for a fact Islam doesn't allow you, to having sex with little boys is just, you know what I'm saying? I mean, having sex with little girls or boys, either or way, whichever way you want to put it, is just no. You know what I'm saying? It's not allowed, right? But even for him to force up say it's okay to have sex with little boys in Islam, that's a lie. Yes, in some cultures that had before Islam came, there's many cultures in the Indo-European cultures that have sex with little boys, and some of them cultures did continue that practice. Although they accepted Islam, they did not fully, go by the morals of what Islam says, right? But notice in his videos that he shows people saying that about the boy, they are hiding, right? They're hiding. And young Pharaoh doesn't even point that out in the videos that he's showing, that these people are actually hiding to be able to do these crimes, to do these acts, right? Having sex with little boys, So clearly Islam itself does not support having sex with little boys. But let them continue.
But y'all niggas is busted. And y'all niggas is some fuck niggas. And y'all niggas is just like the motherfucking Catholic Church, probably even motherfucking worse, with your nasty asses. With your nasty motherfucking Muslim nasty ass. Let's keep it moving. See, I got my list in front of you. I'm not missing no points today. So if you see me look down, I'm looking at my list today. All right. Let me go to my timestamp I got. Bitch, we pulling out documentaries on you niggas. I'm not playing with y'all. Let's go. Let me share my screen. Here we go. Okay, now watch this. Watch this, family. Here we go. Bang.
Perhaps it's that absence of women that explains why male sexuality is often focused on boys.
You see, he said this is a nation. He said this nation is an Islamic country. Okay? Now I want that to seep into your head, because I don't want nobody sitting here talking about well, they not doing that where Islam is being practiced. Blah, 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 blah. We're not going to let a nigga run from nothing. Okay? He's stealing off all the exits. Before he even get to speaking, he's confirming that the acts, okay, being recruited, that the acts that you see being performed in this video are being done by Muslims in an Islamic country. So don't let these niggas motherfucking jug you out your reality. Matter of fact, before I even go into that, let me stop. Before I even go into that, let me read these Quran verses. All right?
Now watch this twist up. Watch this twist.
Before I go into that. Let me read these Quran verses because I want to show y'all where these niggas is getting it from. Because it's one thing to just say, oh, these Muslim niggas is doing pedophile shit. But it's another thing to show you what's fueling. So you gotta, because we was talking about marriage. When I first played you that first Muslim, and he was speaking about marriage, all right? He's getting his ideology from a book called the Bukhari. Spelled B-U-K-H-A-R-I. Now, I pulled up the individual verses, but I don't even want to say black. I was fortunate enough to be able to get them all on one spread.
Correction. You know he got that. He actually got that from a Christian site. All right, he ain't put all that stuff together. You could tell that it's from a Christian too. And he just mentioned the Bukhari. So this is like why I've been going so hard on the Bukhari aspect and the different methodologies towards Bukhari, because not all Muslims accepted all the things in Bukhari, or even some don't even accept Bukhari at all. Okay. And there's plenty of other hadith books out there and rulings from various different scholars, you know, to give people, you know, the understanding of what, you know, is inside the deen. So the point is this: before Bukhari existed, Islam existed. Okay. So, but that's what his main thing on, and that's why I had to bring out what I've been bringing out. But okay, let him go.
So I'm finna screen share them one at a time, and I'm gonna read them one at a time. Right here, family. The Bukhari. Okay.
Bukhari.
Authentic Traditions of Islam book. This is Roman numeral, which stands for 62. So this is book number 62. As you can see, it means marriage, as I stated before, chapter 25. This chapter says what? As for whomever plays with a boy, if he inserted it into him, then he shall not marry his mother. So what this is saying is that if you have sex with a little boy, then you're not allowed to marry that boy's mother. Now this is
Listen. Oh yeah, by the way, Christians often try to translate other texts, Muslim texts, and they put wrong translations with them in the first place. But you know, in any other case, this will be completely rejected what is being said, and was rejected completely, you know, earlier.
these verses right here are in the same book, the book of Bukhari, which basically governs the laws of marriage for a Muslim. Now, what does this say? This is chapter 52, verse 24. This shit says, and they shall have boys who will walk around them, who will walk around among them as if they were hidden pearls. Now, I'm going to show you all of these verses being played out in real life. Chapter 56, verses 22 through 23. And dark-eyed ones, the like of hidden pearls. Chapter 76, verse 19, still in the book of marriage. And boys never altering in age will circulate among them. When they see them, you will count them as scattered pearls. Okay?
All right, let's go to that. Right, because it has nothing to do with sex, and they're twisting it once again. He's mixing stuff up. So we're gonna go ahead and go expose this real quick. We're gonna expose the clown on what he's saying, because you don't just lie like that. All right, it ain't got nothing to do with no sex. All right, so where is it at? Go through these real quick. Principles I did. Matter of fact, I think there's a chapter on the pearls. They shall be hidden like pearls. That's talking about Jannah. When you get to Jannah. Okay. Dang it. So I'm gonna go over there. I think this is actually I don't know what that is. Okay. It went to something else. Alright, hold on for a second. Let me get the ayats. Sure, the immortal boys. There we go. Actuality, and there's different viewpoints on it, on the verses that he's saying about hidden boys, immortal boys. I take the viewpoint that these are the children of Muslims who have been slain, not slain, excuse me. But these are the children of Muslims in paradise, because once we get to paradise, our families are going to be there. And it was talking about the aspect of children. Okay. Has nothing to do with sex. So let's go through these various understandings of what it is. Immortal boys will go around them serving. See, this is what he was quoting, right? and around them will serve boys of everlasting youth. If you see them, you would think they're scattered pearls. Okay. Now, the different scholars give their various understandings of that. They won't grow in age. They will not grow old or change. If you see them, scattered pearls. Masses. Okay. You guys can, read that, but I'll just show the one I agree with. Okay. I agree with this one, this narration. It is the best in my view. Okay. It says, it is narrated from Ali ibn Abu Talib, may Allah be pleased with him, and Hassan al-Basri, that what is meant by these boys is the children of the Muslims who died in infancy and have no good or bad deeds on their records. Okay. So the boys mentioned in these verses are actually the children of Muslims that died in their infancy. Okay, it has nothing to do. Basically, they'll be serving their parents and stuff like that. Like children obey their parents and things of that nature. It has nothing to do at all with anything sexual. You see? So what he's going to try to show is videos where people are being nasty, they're perverts who are sneaking in a Muslim country, sneaking away, having sex with little boys. And he's going to try to tie that in with this verse and say that they get this from these verses, but there's no way that they could have got it from these verses, these ayats of the Quran. So he's just straight up lying, or he got it from a Christian site and don't know what he's quoting. All right. These are different views. Okay. So you have only article on that. The article on that is site right there. Islam Ka. And just so that people don't think, because I've said stuff about the Salafi method and, the Ahlul Hadith movement. By the way, this was posted by the Ahlul Hadith movement. Okay. So I'm not being impartial. I even put some of their stuff up there that coincides with what needs to be put down, because in this issue, they quoted the different hadiths on the subject. All right. So let's go back to little young Pharaoh's diatribe and show where he's just lying at. So now we're going to expose his lie, right?
Real life. Chapter 56, verses 22 through 23. And dark-eyed ones, the like of hidden pearls. Chapter 76, verse 19. Still in the book of marriage. And boys never altering in age will circulate among them. When they see them, you will count them as scattered pearls. Okay? Now let's go right down here. There's a book called Early Sufi Women. This book is allegedly about Muslim women who existed around the time of Muhammad, okay, and who helped to teach Islam along with Muhammad. And this quote right here, condoning sexual pedophilia, comes from alleged divine Islamic predecessors who okayed pedophilia at the time, all right, of Muhammad. Now here's the book. I put it up for y'all if y'all want to go get it.
Yeah, I'm gonna go look through that.
Early Sufi women,
because he messed with representing
from 8th to 11th century. Okay, go get it. Now here we go.
He don't even got it.
One day, a rabia, aka a woman, saw a al-Qais, aka a man, kissing a young boy. Do you love him? She asked the man. Yes, the man said. To which she then replied, I did not imagine that there was room in your
That's too
heart
little. I can't even read
to
it.
love any other than God, the glorious and mighty. Robert was overcome at this and fainted. When he awoke, he said, on the contrary, this is a mercy that God, the Most High, has put into the hearts of his slaves. Now let me tell y'all what that verse means before I go in. Okay? What that verse means is that Allah, all right, was a merciful God for allowing this man to love a little boy.
You see how they get people twisted up on stuff. Now, I highly doubt that that's inside the book like that. I'm gonna try to go search for the book. But Make a long story short, because I'm running on my time. There will be a part 3 to this. Even so, Rabia seeing a person doing that does not mean that the whole Muslim world supports pedophilia, though. So that absolutely doesn't prove his point. It's somebody who's being a pervert, just like the Greek freaks were being perverts. Okay, it does not mean that Islam itself supports it. And he tried to use the Quran about the ayats inside the Quran about they will be scattered like pearls. There will be boys. Okay, that has absolutely nothing to do even with this life. The context of those ayats is in Jannah, in paradise. Right? So absolutely has nothing to do with pedophilia. He's clearly misrepresenting what the ayats are, and whatever he's reading from, whoever put that together clearly had an agenda, and it's just too bad that his face had to come out here and try to show himself like this and make himself look like a fool. You know what I'm saying? He just, he don't know what he's talking about. But okay. And we reject pedophilia. There's penalties. So in any case, let's go ahead.
So you're not supposed to love nobody else other than Allah. But the fact that Allah allowed this grown-ass man to be kissing on a little boy and loving him showed Allah's alleged mercy. Okay? To these people. Motherfucker, I just read you the goddamn verses. What more do you go look them up?
Okay, we looked them up. We looked it up. We looked it up. You didn't even look them up. You went to the book called the Book of Marriage. How that's even in the Book of Marriage, I don't know. And we didn't get no citation exactly where it's at to look it up. So, we looked the verses up themselves, and they don't, in the context, have none of that. Right?
I got them individual in the book. But as I said, I was fortunate enough to find them all on one goddamn page. Go look up the book. It's the Book of Marriage for Muslims and their law. Go read the
Book of Marriage.
Your goddamn self.
The Book of Marriage from who? Which scholar? Who wrote it? Yeah. And those ayats, in any case, let's look at it.
So this is showing you that they not only believe in pedophilia, they condone the shit. Now let me play the video I was gonna play. So now you can see where all of this shit is coming from. Now remember they said little boys is gonna be walking around like hidden pearls? Remember they said that, right? Hold that verse in your head. Watch this shit. Remember, he said this nation is an Islamic country. Let's go.
Now, hold on. I'm going to point out his blatant lie. Watch this. I'm going to point out his blatant deception. Watch this. Right? Watch this. I'm talking about young pharaoh laws. I'm going to show you his deception. Because if this is an Islamic country and they accept such actions, as young pharaoh's whole video is about, Islam accepts these actions. That's the whole point. The scholars accept these actions. So therefore, we shouldn't find nobody in this video claiming that they're hiding to do these actions. Because if they're hiding, then that means that they're breaking the law and the rules, right? So then that would mean that the authority, that the government, and that the scholars of Islam don't accept such actions, and that this person is hiding. So let's see if the person is hiding to do these acts. Okay.
But the boys, they can easily go wherever they want. Now what you about to see, remember, in the verse, it said what? Let me go back to the verse for y'all real quick. It said, and they shall have boys walk around among them as if they were hidden pearls.
You see how he twisting it? You see how he twisting it?
This is a Muslim man teaching this little boy how to dance like a female because they finna have what is called a botcha party. BACHAS. And a botcha is basically an underage homosexual.
Hold on. We know about the statement, and it's been, so far as I know, accepted by across the board, that the prophet, it is narrated, the prophet said that he cursed the boys, or that he cursed the men that dress like women and the women who dress like men. So then this practice right here, dressing up like a woman and this is a boy would not be acceptable. Let's continue.
Boy that they auction off for sex because they can't have sex with the women until they marry. And so what they do is they have sex with the little boys until they marry a girl. Now watch this. Look at him teaching this boy how to be a homosexual. Watch this shit.
That's sick, man. That's nasty as hell, man.
Look at this shit.
That's crazy.
A dance lesson for a mature boy.
Look at these niggas.
That's crazy.
Look at
Oh,
them
Lord.
talking about move your hand like this. Look at this shit. I was 12 or 13. Go back. Let me go back. He said he was 12 or 13. Nigga can't be no older than 16 right now if I had to guess. He said he was 12 or 13. They asked him, look, I just guessed it. Now I'm nearly 16.
Come on. You ain't guessed that. You saw the video before. Come on now.
Look at this shit.
They're given a week-long crash course in dancing.
He said at first I didn't know much about it. I thought it was just a game.
It's hard to believe he's being entirely honest. Everyone in Afghanistan knows Bachar boys don't just dance. But that's no excuse for the people who recruited him. Under the social norms here, women selling sex is an even bigger taboo than child prostitution.
Look at this nigga talking about.
Hold up. He said women selling sex is a bigger taboo than child prostitution. Now that's crazy to say it like that, but the fact of the matter is this. When you say something is bigger than something, that means it's still a taboo though. That means it's still not allowed to be done. Okay? So, and that's the narrator. That's some dude somewhere, that's just narrating it. We don't even know if that's what's going on like that. But in any case, what he just sat there and said was it's a bigger taboo than boys, right? It's still a taboo though. It's still wrong, right? So in an Islamic country, that should, if pedophilia is acceptable, you would think it would not be a taboo at all because it would be halal. It would be allowed. So that's one deception. Continue.
To work your chest. Look at this shit. And this just, I gotta pause this right here and say this. This just goes to show you that homosexuality is not fucking natural. Okay? Statistically speaking,
Come on,
90%
go.
of people who are homosexual today have been molested as a kid.
That's true.
Clearly, we can see this nigga teaching this little boy to be homosexual. If it wasn't for these motherfuckers, he would not be homosexual. So this whole series even shows you how they forcing homosexuality into the consciousness of a man. Now, let's go.
It's nasty though, man.
Ask this boy, how does it feel when you're having sex? He's a fucking minor. I don't even want to repeat the fucking question. It feels a bit like love. This nigga only 15, not even 16 yet. But it can hurt badly too. But money is important.
Ignorance. That's crazy. That's nasty.
Okay, we're gonna keep it moving on y'all niggas.
Come on.
We're gonna keep it moving on you niggas.
All right, here we go.
Let's go here now. Let's go here. So you can see them in action. Look at all these motherfuckers. Okay?
And here is the star. His name's Willa.
I'm waiting for him to prove that it's Islamic though. That's what I'm waiting for him to prove. Just showing some videos of some nasty perverts. That don't prove that it's Islamic though. So just because it's a Muslim or Islamic country, they could be hiding in their house and doing stuff behind closed doors. Don't prove it's Islamic though. That's sickening, man. Come on, man. Dang, man. That's crazy as hell, though.
He says he's 25 years old and still popular.
Man, Afghanistan with it. That's nasty as hell, man.
Why
Hold
did
up.
the police catch you? He said it's not that easy for the state organizations to catch you.
Busted. You hear that? See young Pharaoh video, he lied. Why are they hiding from the police? Hold on. This is an Islamic country. So if this is Islamic country, that means the government allows pedophilia. These guys clearly are running. They're clearly hiding. They have to be caught. You know, if it's acceptable in Islamic society to have pedophilia, as this whole documentary states, pedophilia in Islam, Pharaoh says that Islam believes in it. Pedophilia is propagated, is part of the religion or the deen. Then how come we see, and he put this video up to show the actions. So why are they talking about the police, the Islamic government catching them? And why are they hiding if it is truly Islamic? Clearly, the video that young Pharaoh put up even just goes against young Pharaoh's own arguments. Clearly, the state organizations, so for the state organization to catch us, they wouldn't have to catch you if it was Islamic, because it would be the state organizations themselves propagating it and pushing pedophilia and say this is halal. Go get married. It's okay. Just like they do for the women. So clearly Islam does not accept this. So with the own video he just showed, he just clowned himself. All right, continue.
We're all men here. So it's impossible to guess anyone's a renter boy. Huh? A renter boy. Because you can't have sex with the girl until she gets a certain age.
Wrong, young Pharaoh. Not only that, but you can't have sex with little boys too. And that's why they're hiding doing it. If you gonna come real, come real. If you not, leave Islam alone, because you don't know what you're talking about.
Having sex with the boys. Let's go. Why are boys so popular in Afghanistan? Let's go. Men like boys. I wonder why.
No, men don't.
Let's keep it moving.
That's nasty as hell.
You can't take a girl to a party. No, it's because many men like boys.
Okay. Also, let me comment on this since he's commenting too. Here's what I see. When we're looking at this video that young Pharaoh's trying to use, we clearly see that none of the individuals state, none of them quote the verse in the Quran that there will be boys scattered like pearls. You would think that if this was an Islamic sanctioned action, that they would actually quote the ayats that young Pharaoh's quoting. Men's like boys, because they're being asked, why are you doing this, right? And they're saying simply because we like boys. Right. So they're not saying Islam tells us to do this. The hadith says this. The ayat in the Quran says this. This is Islamic. It's okay for us to do this. They're not saying that at all. They're just saying, hey, this is what we like. And it's hard over here because we don't have access to the girls, or we can't marry the girls yet. So, we go after the boys. That's the least thing that they're trying to say. So this video is young Pharaoh's commentary on the whole video is just flawed and wrong. And clearly misrepresenting what's being said here.
Remember, they said this is an Islamic nation. Huh?
Okay, let's deal with that statement. The dude at the very beginning saying it's an Islamic nation. Then after that, he mentions that it's hard to marry the women. That's what he's talking about. Then later on, he says, so what? We go to the boys. That's all he's saying. He's not saying this is an Islamic nation and Islamic law allows for us to have sex with little boys. That's not what he said. Stop misrepresenting young Pharaoh. lying to people, misrepresenting. Look at you.
Men like boys inside of an Islamic nation. How the fuck that happened? But then when you go to that Quran, what did it say? When that woman seen that man kiss
that woman seeing a man kiss somebody, that man was just another pervert. You see what I'm saying? Just like these perverts right here who are hiding, right? And so, you know, if that's what that meant, I don't even know. I got to go read that myself to see what even that is about. Right. But he would be a pervert just like these perverts inside the video, and has nothing to do with Islam sanctioning. And the verses that he's putting up right here, I just showed, has nothing to do with this life in this world, but it has everything to do about Jannah and the next life. And also the various opinions on that, and the opinion of Ali and the other Sahabi, or excuse me, not Sahabi, but Hassan Basri, which was a known tabi'in, who was very knowledgeable, you know, in the deen, and was one of the main scholars in Islamic history. Not main scholar, but he was a prominent scholar in Islamic history. Says that verse deals with Muslim children who died in infancy, so that basically they'll be reunited with their family. So come on with all that. That has absolutely nothing to do with showing these boys in Afghanistan. And you know, the Taliban used to run Afghanistan, and you know that if they would have caught these people, just like young Pharaoh pointed out, or excuse me, the video pointed out, they were hiding. He said the government, the police catch them. Okay. So if they would have caught them, you know what they would have did to them guys messing with them little boys like that. It probably would have been off with your head. Okay. So let's get this right. Let's not misrepresent.
that boy and asked him, did she love him? He said yes. All right. And then when he woke up from fainting, he said, on the contrary, this is the mercy that God, aka Allah, has put into the hearts, put into their hearts. So now we can actually see why in the Islamic nation, most of men like boys. Let's keep it moving. All right, I don't want to see no more of this shit.
Good. Turn that mug off.
Turning it off. That's enough for me.
Good.
I'm tired of looking at niggas walking around in dresses.
Yeah.
But I'm going to work.
Well,
If you think
well, you showed that video, young Pharaoh, pretty long there, bruh, to be tired of seeing that, you know, and to falsify what I know you got eyes, I know you can see. We just clearly seen that they were hiding. We just clearly seen that they're worried about the police catching them. We clearly see that they're inside the house, hiding in the house doing that. So clearly the Islamic government doesn't support that. Clearly then Islam does not support it then. The Sharia doesn't support it. That's very clear for anybody who just saw that.
I'm not going to work, you tripping. I'm going to work tonight, baby. Okay? So I don't give a fuck about no motherfucking Muhammad. No, nothing. Anything that got to do with Islam is a no for me, nigga. A triple no. No, no, no. No, no, no. Bitch, don't be trying to justify that shit over here. Bitch, you're gay. You're gay. If you follow Muhammad, you're gay. You're a pedophile lover and a promoter. And nigga, fuck you. I don't want nothing to do with no shit like that. That's disgusting. And don't be trying to make no excuses. Nigga, these is real Islamic Muslims that I have talking here. These ain't no niggas that's just fake Muslims. None of these is real Islam.
Okay, let's clarify that. First of all, that's in Afghanistan. If you know anything about Islamic history, you would know that the Prophet Muhammad rose up in Arabia. So Afghanistan is actually a convert country. So just because a person reverts to Islam, it doesn't make them not a real Muslim. That's where you got it all messed up at. Secondly, the first generation of Muslims were all converts. Muhammad's closest followers were converts. Okay. So a person being a convert does not make him less of a Muslim than somebody who was born a Muslim. As a matter of fact, some people that are born Muslim have to wait till they get sort of mature in age to figure out if they even want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Whereas a person who converted already did that investigative work and said, yes, I want to believe in Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. So their faith is more truer in some sense. And even some people that see Muslims that become converts, they will tell you. The ones that were born Muslims will point to a person that converted and will say, you're a better Muslim than me. That happens a lot, you know. So what you're saying about real Muslim, just because they over there doesn't hold no weight to Islamic history in itself, because Islamic history is full of convert Muslims who were scholars and who were people that did righteousness and who did good deeds to people. So I don't know what type of yardstick you're going by, but you clearly do not understand Islam.
These are real standards and practices of Islam. Okay, I just read it to you out of the Quran. Don't play with me. Don't motherfucking play with me tonight.
You playing with yourself. You read verses about boys being scattered like pearls, and it's referring to the next life, not this life. And it had nothing to do with sex. So the question is, why would you even take some verses like that if you did it, as you claim you did it, you found them all together? That's what you said. Why would you even put it like that? Right? When you clearly somebody can read the verse and see it has nothing to do with sexual import. So somebody got to question you about that.
I'm not even done. Now we're going to go to another documentary.
Okay.
Where these niggas is raping the boys. Because I want to give you both sides of the coin. One side of the coin, they training the boys to be okay with it. The other side of the coin, they just straight.
So, you know what I'm going to do? I'm going to go and stop right there on this one. I mean, I just exposed him with his own video. Okay. He misrepresented his own video that he put up. He misrepresented it. And this whole video is misrepresented because he said all Muslim scholars accept this, right? First of all, I showed in video number 1, the 6 and 9 narration of Aisha was being rejected by earlier Islamic scholars. Imam Abu Hanifa, who was prominent. Okay. And then he's trying to throw in boys. He took the ayat about young boys will be like scattered pearls that refers to paradise, and he tries to mix it with the pedophilia that he see going on in Afghanistan. And we see clearly that they're hiding in Afghanistan inside their home. And they're worried about there was a talk about the police catch them. So if it was truly Islamic, there would be no police to have to catch anything, because the police would be the ones supporting it, because it'd be an Islamic action. So his own video that he's showing, in the next video he's going to show too about the little boys being raped, they're hiding too. Okay, so all his videos he's showing is nonsense, except for what? 1 or 2 statements by the 2 dudes that said, the one dude he put up there about, he said it's permissible for us to have, that the Prophet Sallallahu Alaihi Wasallam married Aisha 6 and 9. And then I put in rebuttal another scholar who said no. These narrations have been rejected. These narrations have problems with it. This narration has problems with it. It been rejected. It found its way in Bukhari after Imam Abu Hanifa rejected those type of hadiths. So you can look at my first video about that one or this one. Let me go on because he keeps saying Bukhari. So let me go to some other scholars real quick, and then I'm gonna close this, and there will be probably inshallah part 3 to this. Although I don't feel the need to really go on it more, but we just gonna go ahead and finish him off to the end, because there's enough of these lies, and said he gonna get it too. I already put some things on him too, so we not playing with these guys. Walter Williams, any and everybody who want to keep on with this, you just be exposed step by step, especially when you make general statements. As long as you make general statements, we gonna keep exposing you, because you're not being specific about what sect or what school or what, you're not being specific. All right. And you don't want to be specific, because if you're specific, then you can't label all Muslims. And so the whole agenda is for them to label all Muslims, period. Right. That's the whole aim, is to get rid of Islam, period, in any type of methodical forms. Hold on. Let me see what's going on with this real quick. Now we got this issue going on right here. Hold up. All right, hold up. I don't know what's going on. All right, there we go. All right, so again. All right. So we already went through. Let's see. We already went through the scholar Shabir Ali. He refuted that. Let's see. Who else? Who else we gonna use? Okay. Well, he used somebody that was speaking in Arabic, and he did that on purpose. So I'm going to use somebody and talking about the correct methodology. They basically, you know what I'm saying, the mistakes that entered into Bukhari, and Muslims need to go back to except some Muslims, okay, because some Muslims already do this, but Muslims need to go back to going by the Quran first and then, you know, judging it that way. But so we're gonna go Farhan Maliki, famous scholar in Saudi Arabia. Here's what he says. So for those of you who use the 6 and 9 narration from Bukhari and say that that's acceptable, and you're whether you're Muslim or not a Muslim, but primarily if you're not a Muslim, and the only reason why I'm saying it like that is because when you're dealing with Muslim or Muslim, there are certain terminologies and things that you can express yourself in, and not take an extra time, right? Whereas when you're a non-Muslim, it takes a lot to explain and break it down because you don't understand hadith terminologies, and things of that nature. So it takes longer. And that's the only reason why I'm saying that. Other than that, it doesn't matter if you're a Muslim or not. Either way, the hadith is being rejected by numerous scholars in the past before Bukhari even put them inside his book that he then, out of his opinion, put Sahih. So we're going to go to the Saudi scholar. He's in Saudi Arabia, Farhan al-Maliki. He follows more of the Maliki madhab or Maliki method, I should say. So this is what he says about the hadith culture and blindly following hadith like that.
كذلك محورية العدل عندما أجد في القرآن الكريم قوله تعالى لقد أرسلنا رسلنا بالبينات
Let's make this big. I made it big for his, so I'm gonna make it big for mine. Gotta see. All right. So he's quoting the Quran, and he's proving that the Quran should actually be the thing that people use first. People say it, but they don't do it. People say they go by Quran first, but they really don't do it. They go straight to a hadith. And he says that's a problem even with some scholars too. They'll go straight to hadith. All right. And just go by the chain of narrators, but they won't go by the text, the words that are stated in the hadith, and compare them to the Quran. And he said that was a problem. So let's hear what this Sheikh has to say about that.
بينما في الحديث قد لا ما أجد بابا باسم العدل من أبواب لا البخاري ولا مسلم ولا الكتب الستة ولا غيرها بمعنى يهتمون بالأبواب التفصيلية في العبادات وينسون القضاء.
He talk fast, no? He talk fast. Also, so he said he don't see the categories in Bukhari. He's criticizing as a person who compiled the book and put it together. He said he doesn't see sections inside the book that narrate about justice and things like that. Things that are inside the Quran, he sees Bukhari left a lot of things out, basically.
المحورية التي تكثفت في القرآن الكريم كالعقل مثلا والعدل والشهادة لله والمعرفة المعرفة حقوق الإنسان وما شابه ذلك. هذه مكثفة في القرآن وخالي يعني ضعيفة أو ذابلة في التيار الروائي الذي نشأ تحت السلطات. يعني غالبا أكثر الناس رواية غالبا ازدهر الحديث وسط السلطات الظالمة. نعم. على أي حال ليس هناك هناك فرق وخوف كبير عند كثير من الحديث يظنون أن من رد حديثا خالف.
So he says a big exception for the people of hadith. Now understand, this is a historical statement, the word that he says, and I'll get you that historical. But basically, remember, there was a Ahlul Hadith movement and Ahlul Ra'i movement. Ahlul Ra'i used Quran and rationality towards a hadith, and certain principles like if it matches up with intellect, if it matches up with Quran, if it matches up with science and things like that, then the hadith is acceptable. That method came about. If the hadith goes against what is known factual history or known basically known facts, then it's rejected too. So the Ahlul Hadith movement, or as they translate, either people of Hadith, when he says it like that, that movement just like to go by narrators. So they chase the narrator isnad back and say, hey, this is Sahih, this is authentic, we accept it as a prophet saying that. You know, Aldo Ray's understanding of Sahih would be, you know, yes, the chain of narrators is sound, but not necessarily the statements are sound, right? So you got to take those statements and compare them to the book of Allah and compare them to intellect, because the Quran says, will you not reason? Okay. So there was principles developed out of the Quran to be able to test if a hadith was acceptable or not. So that's what he's referring to right here. When he says people hadith, he's meaning the people that follow the trend of only isnad makes it sound for you to accept. And he's going against them on that, saying, no, we need to get away from that, because this is how people are accepting the 6 and 9 thing with Aisha or other hadiths too. The prophet being magic put up on him. There's a hadith that some people say that the Prophet ﷺ had magic put up on him, but the Quran clearly rejects and says that the disbelievers say that he is struck with magic. So, you know, well, we'll let the Shaykh talk. Okay, hold on. Man, I'm seeing he's so fast. 220. Okay. Okay. So he's saying okay, so he says in any case, there's a big misconception with many people of hadith. Now he himself goes by hadith, and that's why I'm saying it's important to understand terminology. All right, he's not saying he don't go by hadith. But if you understand the history of the different movements, then you understand what I'm saying. All right. So I'm gonna have to keep my, you know, maybe I can make a little, you know, so I can see the whole thing. I ain't gotta interfere with the. All right. Okay. He said they think that whoever rejects a hadith that contradicts the Quran, then he has rejected the Sunnah. This is not right. Okay. But there's some Muslims, you meet them, they'll say a hadith can override a Quranic ayat. They got some to say that. And they're part of the Al Hadith movement too. They'll say an hadith can abrogate a Quranic ayat. All right, so that's who he's talking to.
وهناك أحاديث في الصحيحين وغير الصحيحين تخالف القرآن الكريم مخالفة صريحة، ومع ذلك أهل الحديث أو أنصارهم المبالغون في حماية السنة ليس الخلاف معه، لابد أن نحرر الاختلاف. ليس الخلاف فيما ثبت عن النبي عليه الصلاة والسلام، إنما الخلاف فيما زعموا أنه ثابت عن النبي ولا يثبت، لأن النبي لا يخالف القرآن. النبي نفسه عليه الصلاة والسلام يقول إنما أتبع ما يوحى إلي. فيستحيل جدا أن يأتي أحاديث في القرآن مثلا بحرية الاعتقاد، وفي حديث عكرمة مولى بن عباس بقتل المرتد. نعم. يستحيل أن يأتي حديث قوله تعالى ليس بأمانيكم ولا أماني أهل الكتاب من يعمل سوءا يجزى به، بينما في صحيح مسلم من حديث أبي بردة بن أبي موسى عن أبيه أنه يؤتى لكل مسلم يوم القيامة بيهودي أو نصراني ويجعل فداء، يقول هذا فداءك من النار. أين هذا الظلم في الحديث من هذا العد القرآني؟ كذلك أنا ذكرت نقطة مهمة، وهي أن أهل الحديث لم يكتفوا، هم قلبوا الإسلام رأسنا على، يعني قلبوا الهرم رأسنا على عقب. الأشياء المهمة المحورية في القرآن، روح الإسلام، المعرفة، العدل، الشهادة لله، ليس هناك باب في الكتب الستة عن العقل مع كثافته في القرآن، ولا باب عن العدل مع كثافته في القرآن، ولا باب عن المعرفة والحس مع كثافته في القرآن، ولا باب عن الشهادة لله مع كثافته في القرآن. فهم اخترعوا تفصيلات وانشغلوا. طبعا ما الوعي السياسي بحاجة. الحديث هو نتيجة، يعني طبعا ما أطلق على جميع الحديث، معظم الحديث الذي يدور على الألسنة. إذا سمعت خطيبا يذكر 100 حديث فاعلم أن 90% مكتوب على رسول الله و10 تكون صحيحة. نعم.
Now, understand, this man is a scholar too. Okay, so I'm at the 15-second mark. All right. So, he's going to get to the point. My point is showing that he's going into Bukhari and he's going to make a point here. Watch.
سمعت يذكر 10 فنفس الشيء. فلذلك نحن نصيحتنا القرآن هو نور، والنور هو يكشف بنفسه ما يحتاج
إلى من يكشفه. ليه يا شيخ إذا سمعت 100 حديث فأعرف إنه 90
Watch, because the standard of judgment is wrong. That's why they're not authentic.
لأن معيارهم في التصحيح والتضعيف خاطئ أصلا. لا يعرضوا الحديث على القرآن، يصححون حديث تخالف القرآن وتخالف العقل وتخالف الحرية وتخالف كل المبادئ. طيب. القضية نبدأ بالمصدر الأهم. إذا وجدنا قرآنا صريحا في مسألة ثم وجدنا حديثا يخالفه نأخذ بما أهل الحديث لتعصبهم للحديث خلاص أصبحوا كل من يرد حديث يخالف القرآن يقولون يحارب السنة، وهذا مغالطة. القرآن الآن بين أهل الحديث لا يساوي معجم الطبراني بتصحيح حمد السلفي، لا يرجعون إليه أبدا، يرجعون للروايات. القرآن أضعف مصدر صار عندهم إلا كلام، فالكلام نعم يقولون القرآن مصدرنا وهو رئيس مصدرنا الأول، بس هذا يا أخي نحن بحاجة للصدق. الله أمر بالصدق قال وكونوا مع الصادقين، لنكون صريحين. القرآن أنا أيام كنت مهتم بالحديث والتخريج وكذا، وأنا وزملاء نعرفهم يعني، لنكون صريحين، لم يكن القرآن لا نراه يهدي للتي هي أقوم كما وصف الله. نرى أن البخاري ومسلم والعقائد هي التي تهدينا للطريق الواضح القويم. لو أفتح باب البخاري النقادات عليه كثيرة جدا، لم يظهر باب العدل. تصور البخاري يذكر باب الشرفة في الدار، باب الزينة، باب نفض الغبار من على كتف العامل، ولا يذكر باب الشهادة لله ولا باب العدل ولا باب العقل ولا باب المعرفة ولا هذا الأبواب الكثير في القرآن. البخاري هو نتيجة شيخه سفيان بن عيينة، علي بن المديني، علي بن المديني نتيجة سفيان وطبقته، سفيان بن عيينة نتيجة الزهري وطبقته، والزهري محدث بلاط هشام بن عبد الملك. أننا يجب أن ننظر المتن قبل النظر إلى الإسناد، ويجب أن ننظر إلى القرآن قبل أن ننظر إلى الحديث. القرآن هو الذي يهدي للتي هي أقوم، هو النص القطعي الذي يجب أن نتدبره. الله أمرنا بالتدبر، هم ما يتدبرون، هم يضربون 50 آية بحديث حسنه الهيثمي وحسنه ابن حجر، هم متلاعبون بس ما يعرفون. يعني كما قلت قلبوا الإسلام، جعلوا القرآن في الحضيض ويوخمون البخاري والنووي وابن حجر كأنهم ملائكة. هم مساكين نعرف أهواءهم ونعرف أغاليطهم ونعرف إصاباتهم وعباداتهم. فلذلك يجب من أراد أن يضربنا بهؤلاء ضربناه بالقرآن، ومن أراد أن يتواضع تواضعنا. فلذلك رجاء هذا الموضوع لأنه لم يتح لشيعة القرآن وفعل شيعة الصحابة وشيعة أهل البيت. القرآن له شيعة محبون قلة لم يتح لهم عبر التاريخ أن يبينوا القرآن الكريم، أن يبينوا ما بينه الله في القرآن. ولذلك القرآن عندهم بين ناسخ وبين منسوخ وبين مخصوص، أصبح كتاب طلاسم ورموز. يقرأ الواحد يقول أي أرض تقلني وأي سماء تظلني إذا قلت في كتاب الله ما ليس منه. والله قد أخبرنا أنه يسر القرآن، ولقد يسرنا القرآن للذكر والمدكر، أفلا يتدبرون القرآن أم على قلوب أقفالها؟ أبدا. الآن يعلمون بأن المغضوب عليهم اليهود والضالين غير المغضوب عليهم الضالين، المغضوب اليهود الضالين النصارى. هذا ليس قول الله، هذا تفسيرهم وعنصرياتهم. المغضوب عليهم هم كل من غضب الله عليه في القرآن يجب أن يدخل ضمن المغضوب عليهم، وكل من وصفه الله بالضلال في القرآن يجب أن يدخل ضمن الضالين. هم أهل الحديث أخسروا يعني جعلوا القرآن مصدر ثانوي جدا وأن تشدقوا به. ولذلك عندما سألته عن حرية لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين رشد الغي، تلكأ أو ما حاول يقول هل المرتد المسلم الذي شك أو رجع عن دينه هل يقتل؟ وقد قال الله لا إكراه في الدين قد تبين رشد الغي، وقال ومن يرتد منكم عن دينه فيموت وهو كافر فأولئك لهم أجل الله عقوبة الردة في الآخرة. لم يجعلها الحدود الجنائيات في الدنيا فقط، من قتل نفسا بغير نفس أو فساد في الأرض أو البغي. أما المرتد هذا أدخلوها الفقهاء لأن السلطات كانت تريد وصم كل من تعارض مع السلطة بأنه مرتد، وذبح الجعد بن درهم باسم الدين.
So you're going through history. So basically, you saw where he basically says that, you know, Bukhari, Muslim and things of that nature is a lot of flaws in it, basically. And so when you say stuff like that, that means you have to take many of the hadith that are said in there, especially the 6ix9ine narration, and take into consideration that it's not, you know, a good thing. So basically, if he's questioning, I mean, as you see, he's questioning the book on a whole level. Clearly, then he's a rejecter of 6ix9ine narration itself. because that, according to his understanding, that would not fall under that category of justice. So we do one more, and then we're going to close out, inshallah. Now, according to young Pharaoh, that's a real Muslim right there. I got more. I will be having a part 3. I'll probably be showing some breaking some other stuff down rather than just showing videos. But this was a video sort of thing because you know, he wants to bring that stuff.
The voice-activated Izod sweater.
Izod sweater?
Yes.
Do you come in pants?
Okay, powering off.
بصدق أقول لكم إخواني وأخواتي بصدق. نعم.
Let's see, okay, this will be the last one. This is another Sheikh Adnan. Alright. Go briefly. And then we'll end. Watch what he said about Bukhari Muslim.
هذا الزنديق اليهودي الساحر الحقيقي مستحيل أن يسلط على رسول الله مستحيل في البخاري ومسلم لا يعنيني هذا تكذيب لكتاب الله تبارك وتعالى. للأسف بلغ من سذاجة المشايخ بعض المشايخ أنهم يريدون أن يصوروا للناس بما أن عارفين نفس اللعبة جيب إتانين تعطيه اسمه وأنا أقول لك اجعله حديثا يكفي أن يخرج شيء في كتاب خاصة كان كتابا معتمدا لكي يظن الناس أو يريد لهم أن يظنوا أن النبي حقا كان كذلك أو فعله أو قاله. ليش يقين بهذا؟ حديث أحاد هذه يا أخي، أحاديث أحاد. من أين لي أن النبي فعل هذا؟ من أين لي أنه تزوج عائشة عمرها 9 سنوات دخل بها؟ من أين لي اليقين بهذا؟ من أين لي اليقين أنه قتل 700؟
So clearly he said, how do I know if the prophet slept with Aisha? He doesn't accept the narration. Here's another Muslim that don't accept that. A scholar, right? We'll continue tomorrow with part 3. We'll leave off from here and then we'll go into some breakdowns, inshallah. I have some things to show y'all. Alhamdulillah, Rabbil Alameen. But inshallah, you enjoyed this. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Y'all have a good night. And I'll probably be re-going over a couple things that I did in part 1. Black Power. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.